Hi, this is Thea, and what I have today is a continuation of the last video, and it has been a while, 2 weeks since I have last recorded, and I do apologize for that. Half of my recording gear was lost in transit for a flight. But what I'll be doing today is I'll just be filing for this one. I used the Dremel last time, and it has come to my attention through the comments that not everybody is um, used to heat treating metal, so most people would be using just a file for this. I will be heat treating the picks because I'm going to use a Dremel on all the rest because filing, while it doesn't take too long, it's quicker to use a Dremel. So that will be in a future video. I did not get to that stage at this one. But as you can see in this image, the Dremel does make it a bit hot, and that does absolutely destroy the temper on the pick. So if you're going to use a Dremel, then make sure that you either keep it cool enough to touch or have the tools and skills to heat treat it once you're done. So as you can see here, I have the pick clamped in a vise, and the file is removing the metal pretty quickly. So it's not going to be a huge disadvantage if you don't have a Dremel or don't have the ability to heat treat metal properly. It doesn't take super long to file it out. And important note, I'm only pushing the file forward on the metal, and the reason for that is that's the direction the file is intended to cut. So if you draw it backward across the piece, then it does tend to mess up the file eventually. And whether you use a Dremel or a file, I would strongly recommend going with a file for the finishing work because it is so easy to overshoot on the Dremel. And if you do that, then you're going to have to start over, and that is pain unlike any other. So always use a file for the finishing work just because it does go so fast. Even with the file, it removes metal pretty quickly. Sorry for the camera focus issues. I did forget to put the focus into manual so that it doesn't jump around, so that's my bad. Here I'm using a needle file to cut out the curve on the inside of the pick. And I use the flat file to do the finishing work because it's a more fine tooth than the particular needle file that I have. And here I'm just finishing up on the tip for that one, for that pick. And here I'm filing down the back of it. I want all of them to be the same length on the part that will actually go into the handle on the finished product. So after I've filed enough of it off, as you just saw, I scored it with a scoring tool so that I could cut away the ink on the paper where I didn't want the finished product to be. So just so that I know exactly when and where to stop, and I can make the end an identical shape. And here we have the finished result of all 4 picks. One of them I did entirely with a file, the other 3 I did with a Dremel and then finished with a file. So the next step for these is going to be heat treating, and I will probably do that next week. And depending on how long it takes, I may do the handle as well, so that you can see that process. And I will be making these handles out of silver maple. So that is all I have today. If you liked that video, go ahead and leave a like. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those below. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It really does help the channel. And if you would like to learn how to win the picks that I'm making, go ahead and go to the first pick making video. I will link that as well. And that will tell you how to enter to win these. So that is all, and I will see you next week.